do you wanna go from this? To this? Well, I got you covered. So in order to actually become strong in DMO, you need a few things. I'm gonna cover them all in this video. So the most important thing you'll need is a strong Digimon. Now the game has an easy to understand ranking system, and basically the more S's and pluses they have, the stronger they are, and you basically need at least a triple plus rank Digimon, and luckily the game got you covered. Both Susanomon Awaken and Darkness Bagramon, two pretty decent triple S plus Digimons, are available for free from some events, with a jumping event coming soon that allows all players to choose from one of them for free, and this is not the first time that this happens. So even if you miss the event, don't worry, we will probably get another one eventually, so you can simply just wait for it to get a good triple S plus Digimon. There is also the random evolution box event that gives a box that contains a random triple S rank or triple S plus Digimon, which could get you a good Digimon if you're lucky. But of course you will always have the option to eventually buy it from other players using Terra or data summons, or even some sheep packs from the cash shops that at one point went as cheap as 350 crowns. So for a good endgame Digimon, honestly you can just wait for the event, you'll eventually get one, or you can always get Alpha Monoyoken from Gankumon Dungeon. After you get your Digimon, you're probably gonna have to level it and transcend it, which is not that hard to do, but the most important part here is cloning. Now cloning is basically a permanent increase to the Digimon stats based on a percentage of their own base stats, and it's really important. Attack clone, for example, can increase the Digimon stat stack upwards of 144% of the Digimon's own base attack, which is huge. The process of cloning itself is really simple, but the challenge is getting the resources. Luckily, it's not that hard to get. You basically need two things: the clone items, which is obtained from Gankumon Dungeon. You get 2 tickets per day, but you can save them and do it in a different day, and that's important because the reward you get will be different each day of the week. On Saturday it gives you the DigiClone box, which gives you tons of clones items, and on Wednesday it gives you random amount of backup discs. Backup discs can also be obtained from some events, but notably from the attendance event and from the free side of the season pass and from Colosseum vouchers, and also can be farmed from Chimeramon Dungeon hard mode or from Datamon Dungeon. Now backup discs simply prevent your clone from going down if it fills, which is crucial to cloning, so basically save up your Gankumon passes and use them all on Saturday for clone. As for backup discs, it's better to get them from the other sources I mentioned, and you should eventually have enough resources to perfect clone your Digimon. As to how to perfect clone, I made a full guide on it, you can check it for more details, but basically you will be aiming to get the max numbers while you're cloning, and if you're not using reinforced clone and you don't get it, simply just reset it using reset capsule, and reset capsules can also be obtained from arena coins. For starters, you should aim to clone your attack and critical for damage, and HP for survivability, and eventually block, and evasion is a bit later but can be ignored depending on what you're doing. And now clone is out of the way, the other thing that you need is accessories. You need to get one of these ranks, one of these necklaces, and this specific earring, and you simply just buy them from other player shops since they are very cheap, and eventually the 5 stats bracelet, which is a bit more pricey compared to the other accessories, so you should be getting after them. And once you have acquired the accessories, it's time to use Option Stone to reroll them, because you will need to have some specific stats on them. Option Stones is mostly obtained from the attendance event or from Colosseum, and in the future it will be farmable from the Holy Beast dungeons. And what stats do you need on your accessories? Well, for a starter, I would aim to get 2 attack on the ring, attack speed and critical damage on your necklace, 2 critical damage on your earring, and if you can, squeeze an additional hit rate alongside the 2 critical damage, and for the bracelet 2 critical damage and 1 attack, and try your best to get 1 hit rate. Of course, for early game it's a bit different, you'll probably need perfect accessories, so the flex options will eventually have to be as much critical rate and hit rate as much as possible, with basic attribute can sometimes be as good if not better than attack, but the problem is that it only works if you have attribute advantage, so it's not very consistent. And lastly, you will use Digitary Power, which is honestly cheap, you can buy it or farm it from Holy Beast dungeons and use it on your accessory to increase the Digitary Power to 200%, which basically doubles the stats you get, which is very cool. And that's the accessories. Next is seals. Now seals is a permanent stat boost and is a very long term investment achievement, and it will take you a very long time to get, so bear with me. Most enemies in the game will drop their own seals, and each seals give you specific stats, and when you open it, the amount of stats you get depending on the seal itself and how many seals you've opened. For example, opening 50 to 199 Mushroomon seals will give you 30 attack, and opening 1000 Mushroomon seals will give you 120 attack, with a maximum being 3000, which gives you 150 attack. And as you may have noticed, the jump from 1000 to 3000 is a lot of seals, but the stats gain is not that much, so 1000 should be a good stopping point for most players. Now to open it, you will need seal openers, and you need 1 seal openers for every 50 seals. Now to get seal openers, say it with me now, it's from the attendance event, the season pass, and honestly that's it, kinda. Unfortunately, seal openers are not farmable anywhere in the game other than that, so you're eventually gonna have to buy them from either Crown or from other players if you need more than what you get from the attendance and the pass. As for the seals themselves, honestly the best approach is to take it tier by tier, so your goal will probably be to get all the normal seals to 50, aka the bronze tier, and get them all to 200, aka silver, until eventually you get all the normal seals to 1000. Now I said normal seals, and what I mean by that is that some seals are only obtainable from things like bosses and from specific in-game dungeons like Royal Base Hard Mode or Tamer dungeon. So it's honestly a matter of just searching the player shops for the seals and see if the price is reasonable enough to get it to 1000. Some of them you'll just have to open one of them, and some you'll just open 50. As for obtaining the seals themselves, while most of the seals can be farmed from normal maps, however at this point in the game it's actually easier to just farm Terra and buy them instead of farming them. As for the seal stats you should aim for early game, you should focus on attack and defense. Getting your defense to 1000 is a big quality of life upgrade. A lot of enemies simply just don't deal any damage to you, around like 500 defense or so having like 1000 defense for early game should help you a lot, or maybe a bit less than that. And attack is very self-explanatory, it increases your damage. Hit rate is also important, but it totally depends on what type of content you're trying to do, and it's generally an end-game thing, so early game it might not be as important, but I think it's important still to have at least some additional hit rate. And for end game, of course, other than that, having tons of attack, you will probably need to have an insane amount of hit rate and critical rate. Mostly you get all the important things to 3000, even some of the expensive ones at 50, and or you will obviously have to also get evasion and block and defense and everything. So for early game I would focus on attack and defense until 1000 and some hit rate. Next we're gonna talk about the Digivice. So basically you have 2 Digivices you can farm. You can choose to farm both, or you can choose to farm one or not farm any depending on the event. Currently there is an event, additional attendance event, that gives you coins every day, and you can eventually exchange these coins for a random accessory box, and that accessory box can contain a random OT Digivice, and it is a very good Digivice, and it used to be the strongest type of Digivice in the game, and it still kinda is, minus the very end game ones. And this is the second time this event happens. So if they rerun this event often, you will eventually be able to get a good Digivice without having to farm it. But if not, you're probably gonna have to farm it, either an Adventure Digivice or a D-Arc Digivice. Starting off with the D-Arc, basically at level 99 Digimon you will get a quest from the Digivice, and this quest will start the Digimon Tamer's story quest, and when you make it to the D-Reaper Arc, you will get the D-Prototype level 1. You can upgrade it, and your goal is to get it from prototype level 1 to prototype level 3, and do not upgrade it until you have enough to immediately get it to complete level 3, because the ones before complete level 3 is worse than prototype 3. You obtain the items needed to upgrade it from daily quests and from killing bosses in the Shinjuku D-Reaper maps. I made a full guide on how to farm it. It's not that hard, it just takes time. Similarly, the Adventure Digivice, you get the beginning level 0 from following the adventure story quest, starting from File Island until you make it to the Spawn Arc at Minato City. This is when you will get the beginning level 0, and once again your goal is beginning level 2, which is the same stats as prototype level 3, and your next upgrade should be the adventure level 2. And on how to get the mats, this time it's a bit more complicated, so I'll just leave the true Digivice guide from the DMO wiki in the video description. It's basically just killing the Minato tour bosses, and sometimes you're gonna have to do some dungeons for the adventure ones. And once you get the prototype 3 or beginning level 2, you will use the option Stone on them to make the elements match your main Digimon. So if you're using Susanoo Awakened, then you will have to reroll it until it's vaccine live. And similarly for accessories, you will also get it to 200 Digitally power for double the boost. And the last thing I'll be covering here is gonna be your clothes. I'll do it very quickly so the video isn't too long. For Avatar, you get it from Colosseum. The blue soccer is the best for damage, and yellow is the best for movement speed and leveling. As you can see, 77% movement speed is huge, and 1000% XP is also huge. For normal clothes, you can always buy the permanent one from Megami, or buy the 7 days, which gives you speed boots, and can also buy the desert glove and boots from doing the 3 desert main quests. Stronger clothes are farmable from the Holy Beast dungeons hard mode, but you can buy them from player shops and they are not that expensive. And for the good permanent ones, they are only from the paid season pass, fortunately, and some from events, but they aren't permanent, or limited cash items like the Halloween and Digimon, which aren't permanent. As for the attribute you bought on your clothes, you get some from the season pass, or you can buy them from Ponchesmon by doing Shinjuku daily quests, and you can get some weaker but still decent one from doing Tokyo Odaiba tour bosses. Honorable mentions is gonna be the skill digicode. It's important, but don't think it's worth talking about in details. It's basically an item that increases the maximum level of your Digimon skills upwards of 25, from 10 to 25, and honestly it's simply a matter of buying it with Terra. You can risk it and crafting, but it's not my favorite thing to do, so aim to get your Digimon skill to at least 20 and eventually 25 if you can, but it's very expensive and very huge boost, so 20 should be a good stopping point at early game. And for which skills to upgrade, it's generally the F3, but the ones you have, but just upgrade the one that have the bigger number, honestly, or ask around in game, because it depends from a Digimon to Digimon. And lastly, memory skills. You should aim to get a healing skill on your main Digimon. It's honestly a huge quality of life in my experience, and once again this is a matter of having enough Terra to buy it, because the way you obtain the specific memory skills is from random memory cubes, and it is luck based, and I don't like luck based things, so I can recommend gambling for it. So instead I would recommend saving up Terra and get it. Hand of Healing 3 is gonna be the best one, with Regen 2 being a very cheap alternative, but it's better than nothing else. It's basically a better than nothing alternative. Now Hand of Healing 3 is the best healing skill to get because it heals you and the entire party members, so having a party full of Hand of Healing is huge. But of course Regen 2 is not the best. It's not actually that good, but it's a bit annoying to use, but it's still good enough healing skill, and I think it's still very helpful considering its price. And yeah, that's it. I probably might have missed a few things to not make video too long, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And with that, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like on it and subscribe for more demo content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.